So now let's come back to the UK and censorship, perhaps a bit more than that. Richard Medhurst put this tweet out a couple of days ago, talking about his arrest under the Terrorism Act because of his reporting. Now we have a little bit of video from this. Let's have a look at what he had to say.
On Thursday, as I landed in London Heathrow Airport, I was immediately escorted off the plane by 6 police officers who were waiting for me at the entrance of the aircraft. They arrested me, not detained, they arrested me under Section 12 of the Terrorism Act of 2000 and accused me of allegedly, quote, expressing an opinion or belief that is supportive of a prescribed organization, unquote, but wouldn't explain what this meant. So I was taken to an adjacent room, patted down, my phone confiscated. I was not allowed to inform my family. Despite being calm and cooperative, I was handcuffed with something that placed my shoulders in an awkward position and my wrists on top of rather than next to each other. The handcuffs were extremely tight. Despite the police loosening them, they left marks on me for 2 days. They searched me again for the second time within 10 minutes. I was told to sit on a bench, remove my shoes, remove my socks. I was told to turn my socks inside out and hold them up for the officers to inspect. They also made me hold up my feet so they could check them as well. The officers took me to a room with UV lights, which they told me is used to catch burglars who are sprayed with something. I have no idea why they did this since they just removed me off of a plane. My suitcase was then opened in the lobby and ransacked. All of my journalistic equipment and devices were seized, including phones, SIM cards, wireless microphones, headphones, even my shoelaces. They later took my DNA as well, my fingerprints, palm prints, and photographed me. I was placed in solitary confinement in a cold cell that smelt like urine.
Now, there's quite a bit more in that video clip, so I do suggest everybody goes and watches the full clip. But he was talking about being arrested, Charles, under Section 12 of the Terrorism Act 2000. Let's bring this on screen and just have a look at the government summary of this. Section 12 of TAC 2000 makes it an offence to invite support for a prescribed organisation, express an opinion or belief that is supportive of a prescribed organisation, or to arrange or manage or assist in arranging or managing a meeting in support of a prescribed organisation. Now, I guess in this case, the situation is the prescribed organisation is Hamas. But I mean, what were your thoughts based on the clip of how this was handled? Was an arrest appropriate, for example?
I mean, it's very hard to say, but it's certainly what did happen to him, having been arrested, does highlight the ability with which police can run a sort of domino rally of events. So if their goal is to find certain bits of information or indeed articles, he talked about having his journalistic equipment kind of look through and whatnot, then the arrest is the unlocking device. That sets the chain in motion. So I think that's the critical thing here. And like so much this legislation that's been designed over the last sort of 50 years, it specifically enables this interpretation, which makes it almost impossible not to have the power of arrest in these sorts of situations. So I think that's the thing. It's just the way in which it's written up. It makes it too easy for police to do that. But certainly, what he's describing of being in custody, that I'm afraid is standard. That's not related to terrorism.
Okay, and Vanessa, when similar happened to you, of course, you were held for not quite as long. Sorry, if we just put the graphic on screen here, please, Stephanie, and we just look, because you were held under Schedule 7, which is kind of an addendum to the main act itself, which gives pretty unique powers to the British government to examine people without needing to arrest them first. So that's a different thing. But what I really wanted to get your thoughts on were what you thought about the issue of having an opinion about a prescribed organisation.
Having an opinion is that it's about who is prescribing them as a terrorist organisation. But if, as a journalist, it's your job basically to talk about prescribed organisations in any particular conflict or arena. And to a degree, that's what Richard is doing. As a journalist, it's what all of us do. So, are we talking about the conflict here in the Middle East going to be accused of promoting a prescribed organization while the BBC can come to Idlib and sit down for tea with a prescribed organization, Al-Qaeda, or with ISIS affiliates, and get away with it scot-free? I'm sure they're not stopped as they come into Heathrow.
Indeed.
I think the brief point to make just following that is the absurdity of the date of the prescription. Hamas in this country was only prescribed in November 2021. So, of course, had he said or done anything that encompassed expressing support for Hamas prior to that, no one would be able to touch him. And the reason that date's significant is that in the United States, the similar condition, I think, goes back to 1997 or 98. So it is, like we see with all these things, it's the United Kingdom sort of pushing the edge of the envelope in order to be able to, in effect, capture people that it feels like it wants to capture.
I think the thing that concerns me most about this is who decides what the line is, this line that gets drawn affects what people say, what they're able to say. We're seeing this line being pushed ever further towards prescribing anybody from saying anything which is in any way critical of government policy. I think this is extremely dangerous. We'll talk about this much more in Extra, I'm sure. Now, if you like what the UK Column does, you'd like to support us, the place to go is support.ukcolumn.org. £5 a month is what we're asking for a membership, and your membership very much needed, very much appreciated. So thank you to everybody that is a member. If you can't do that, at least we ask that you share our material and become the algorithm for us, because so many organizations are wiping us out. We're back on the new YouTube channel after a week's ban for so-called medical misinformation. We don't expect that this channel is going to last very much longer, frankly, but we're just experimenting with YouTube a little bit. We'll see what happens, and maybe we'll have more to say on that in the not too distant future. You could pick something up at the UK Column shop. There are a number of items there. Please do that if you possibly can, especially Your Life in Their Hands. There's still copies of that available. Please do that, or pick up a ticket for the event on the 19th of October 2024. We were very delighted to have Bob Moran visiting us yesterday at UK Column Towers here, and he will be at this event on the 19th, as will many others. We'll name more names very, very shortly. Now, the interview that Alex did with Calistrat Marvin Atadori, if I've pronounced that name correctly, is now on the website. Please do watch this. It got a very good response in the chat box yesterday. I think everybody enjoyed it, so do watch this. And then tomorrow, an interview with Kevin Lister.
Kevin raised safeguarding concerns in his capacity as a teacher at a college in Swindon, but these were concerns about a student of his that was wanting to be referred to by a different name and to be considered to be a boy rather than a girl. And Kevin's life has been systematically dismantled as a result of challenging the transgender agenda. I really would encourage you to listen to this, especially if you're a parent or in any way involved with education.
So that goes out at 1 p.m. tomorrow. Join us for that. On Sunday, September the 8th, the International Centre for 9/11 Justice and UK Column will be holding a symposium on entitled Aviation Impossibilities, Deconstructing the Official Story of the 9/11 Hijackings and Air Defence Failures. Ted Walter, Olivier Karam-Mason, Aidan Monaghan and Kevin Ryan will be speaking. Piers Robinson will be hosting. So that begins at 6 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. And join us for that if you possibly can, September the 8th. Katie Joe's and Hope Sussex Freedom Music Festival, another reminder for that, 23rd to the 26th of August. Get to that if you possibly can. Finally...
Yeah, taking control of your own food supply, such a critical part of life these days. The Attack on Food and Farmers Symposium, 6th and 7th of September. It's going to be hosted by Children's Health Defence at chd.tv/events. And there are some very, very good and knowledgeable speakers. So I would advise that you tune in to that.
Also, Brian and I will be speaking at the Heritage Party Conference on the 20th of September. Details on screen and in the show notes.
And then in November of this year in London, there's going to be a Died Suddenly art exhibition, which is to put the spotlight on the excess deaths that have not been sufficiently explained or given attention by the government. If you're able to help with that, or you would like to know more about it, get in touch with Jake Fern at jakehfern@yahoo.co.uk.
Okay, so lots going on at the moment. I hope